What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another The Sports Scoop video. Today, me, Charlie Neidell, and Dylan Shalom are going to be talking about sophomore quarterbacks in the NFL because I think going into the season, we all knew who would be our number one pick, but that may have changed, and I'm really excited to hear Dylan's opinions because I know he has very strong opinions on this matter. But let's hop straight into it. Sophomore quarterbacks. Dylan, who's up first?
First overall pick was Joe Burrow, and I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown on his stats for the season. And as you know, if you've watched me for a while, QB wins count. 7-4 is his record. He has thrown for 2,385 yards this season, 22 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. His completion percentage, 69.3%. Passer rating, 101.6. And something I like to use, it's a next-gen stat. I don't like to use a lot of them, but it's an on-target percentage, which is percentage of the passes that would have reached his intended target if not for other circumstances, and his percentage there is 82.7%. Now, moving on to more of like a notes session, like a notes category of the video. I don't really know how to say this. I can't talk right now, but Burrow stats, nothing out of the ordinary when you look at them from the surface. But when you watch him play, you see a mature NFL quarterback who's ready to bring his team to the playoffs. His touchdown numbers are already solid at 22 on the season, which is really solid given that he's only played 11 games. But then you take away the fact that Joe Mixon has scored 10 rushing touchdowns inside the red zone, which makes it even more impressive because he can drive them into that zone. Accuracy solid. His connection with Jamar Chase will be breaking the AFC for years to come. And his return from injury, which I thought would be a big deal, was rather unnoticed. So it's always a good thing. When he's losing, this is my one criticism of Joe Burrow, he needs to go through his progressions. He threw 3 interceptions on his first read in the third quarter in a completely winnable game against Chicago in week 2, one of which was returned for a touchdown. But if he had taken his time, he would have completely been able to take this team and win them the game. But that said, I'm talking a lot. Go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, no, I think the main thing that I've noticed with Joe Burrow, the difference is, and this may not be a Joe Burrow difference, but I think it's definitely a quarterback influence, and that's their offensive line, their protection. A lot of people slandered them for going Jamar Chase at, pick number 5, with Penei Sewell on the board. It was very surprising. That's what I thought they would do, but everybody hated me for it. And I think that Joe Burrow, what he's done this year is he's sorted out his protections, and he's looked like a much better and more protected quarterback this year without an improvement on the offensive line. That's just it. There was no change made to the offensive line. Maybe minor changes, but no big change made to that offensive line. And Jamar Chase has looked incredible. So, Bro, as you said, is looking like an NFL quarterback. He's looking like a very mature, playoff-ready NFL quarterback, which I don't know if we've seen from any of the other sophomores. But I really like the way that Joe Burrow's been playing. He's been really fun for me to watch. The Bengals in general have been fun to watch. But Dylan, if you want to move on to the next one.
And yes, I would. And we've got my Miami Dolphins quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Statistics this season, he's got a 3-3 record. Unfortunate injury. I'll get into that later. He has thrown for 1,701 yards this season, for 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Is a 70.5 completion percentage, which is only topped by one quarterback in the NFL, and that is Kyler Murray. His passer rating is 94.7. His on-target percentage, 81.7. I'm not even going to try it. So I'm just going to say Tua has a very, very long full name. It contains 16 vowels. He has thrown 15 incomplete passes within the last 3 games. That was the stat. It was going to be a lot better if I was able to say his name, but I'm not going to even try it. I'm going to butcher it. So that being said, getting that out of the way, his connection with Jalen Waddle has been the thing that has kept him in the balance. This team is completely reliant on the run-pass option plays, and he has been able to work them to perfection, I think better than any other quarterback in the NFL this season. Unfortunate injury against Buffalo, and then another one in the game against Buffalo. 2 Buffalo injuries. But he's been able to bounce back, and now that they're on this win streak, I think it's a way up to go. Again, people have really clowned on him, hated on him, tried to get rid of him for his lack of arm strength, which I do have to admit is a little bit of a problem. I wouldn't say a problem. It's a deficiency, but it's not the offense that they're running right now that needs him to chuck the ball 75 yards down the field every play, or even once a game. They don't even need him to do that. And I'm going to get defensive about it because I get very, very bothered by people when they say Tua doesn't have the arm strength, Tua is not athletic enough to play in the current NFL, we need to sign Deshaun Watson. What's it called? Anyway, I'm getting carried away. But Tua has definitely improved this season, and given the next couple run of games, he could definitely bring this team to an in the hunt place, maybe even clinch a wild card. That's asking a lot, but I'm putting him up to the challenge.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know as much about the Dolphins or Tua as you do as a Dolphins fan. So I'm just going to say, like, looking at his stats compared to Burrow's, I know it's a really, really high set bar when you look at his stats compared to Burrow's, but his completion percentage is higher than Burrow's, his QB rating is higher than Burrow's, and everything else goes to Burrow, but everything is pretty close except for the touchdown numbers. I know Tua's played a lot less games. He's played 6 while Burrow's played 11. But even if you double Tua's touchdowns, he's only got 20. And that's more games than Burrow has played and less touchdowns by a couple. So that's the only stat that concerns me, the touchdowns. That maybe the players around him. He doesn't have that Jamar Chase in the red zone, and for some reason that's CJ Uzoma touchdown threat. But he's got good comparisons to that. Jalen Waddle has looked almost as good as Jamar Chase this year, and Mike Gesicki is better than CJ Uzoma. It's not even close. Though while he may not be as big of a touchdown threat, he racks up the yardage. Tua throws to him a lot from what I've seen, and
he's third in the league in receptions right now.
Yeah, it's really, he's on pace for the rookie record in receptions, even though he might not win Offensive Rookie of the Year, funnily enough. But as I said, I don't know as much about Tua as you. You watch all the Dolphins games. I don't know that I've turned on more than 1 or 2 this season. They're a boring team to watch because of Tua. But regardless, he's got some reliable receivers. The O-line has looked, I don't know what you would say about the O-line, but I think they've looked all right at best.
They are ranked last in the league. They are the worst offensive line. Liam Eichenberg has been a very, very poor addition. He is ranked last.
But he's a rookie.
I know.
He's a rookie.
Austin Jackson at left guard has been absolutely hideous. He's failed to guard pretty much everyone going against him. This is I'm going to go on a bit of a rampage here, but Tua Tagovailoa has the worst protection in the league. He has played at a level where he's getting the ball out quicker than any other quarterback in the league other than Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady right now. So if you put into perspective, which makes sense if you think about it because he doesn't have enough time, that he has the highest percentage completions in the league behind Kyler Murray. It's very, very impressive considering their offensive line ranking 32nd out of 32. So just putting that out there.
All right, but I think that's enough about Tua for now. But yeah, he's looked pretty decent compared to Burrow's stats. I'll give you that much. But let's move on to the next quarterback drafted. This is a man I loved out of college, out of Oregon, Justin Herbert. I mean, his stats, when you look at them, touchdown numbers, he's got just a couple more than Burrow. Interceptions, just a couple less than Burrow, with 24 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. But where he does stand out against Burrow is his yardage. Burrow has, remind me how many yards? About 2,300?
Yeah.
Herbert's sitting on 3,230 yards, ranked 4th in the NFL. Crazily enough, I would think that's towards the top, but like number 1 or 2. And his QB rating is 65.9, which is 1st in the NFL. I mean, that's a pretty incredible stat line from Justin Herbert, especially looking at it compared to Burrow and Tua. And we'll get to see a lot out of this Herbert-Burrow matchup. We see them this Sunday face off. And this is a big game for both teams. They're both in the hunt for wildcard spots right now, seeing as the Chiefs have started looking good and the Ravens are on top of the Bengals division. 66% completion does take a step down from the other two, But overall, I think Herbert's had a pretty fantastic season despite only being 6-5 this year. I know that's a big stat for you, but Dylan, what do you think about Justin Herbert?
I'm not going to deny it. He's an excellent quarterback, and it bothers me to say that. But he has regressed this year. He has a line that is built to protect him with Rashawn Slater now, a coach in Brandon Staley who is working magic on the defense, even though he's an offensive-minded coach. And then he has Mike Williams healthy, Eckler healthy, Keenan Allen still playing at his high level, and yet he has regressed. His deep ball has not been as precise. He's tied for 16th in the league in accuracy of passes over 20 yards. And what's it called? Ever since Mike Williams has stopped working his magic, which was the first 5-6
I mean, he's the
weeks,
deep threat. That's what it is.
Herbert has statistically regressed. And what I watched from him against Philadelphia, against New England, against Denver, and I know those are 3 losses, and even at the end of the game against Pittsburgh, because he had that game in a chokehold, and then he fumbled the game away, no pun intended. And they ended up winning anyway, but he put them back into that game. And I just haven't seen the same Justin Herbert coming out there and firing deep balls on the run that I saw last year, ever since Mike Williams stopped catching balls over 6 defenders at a time. So now what I have to say about it is he needs to start throwing shorter passes because he's trying to make everything happen in one play. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, no, watching Justin Herbert's actually fascinating for me. He is, I think, one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL. When you watch him take off outside the pocket, standing at 6'6", he can move. And I saw that especially in the Pittsburgh game. That was a crazy game. And he rushed for a season high of 9 times, which I also really like because quarterbacks who are smart and don't rush a lot tend not to get as injured. And he rushed for 9 times, 90 yards in a very good offensive showing from him, 382 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, just 1 interception. I mean, I think Herbert's looked pretty fantastic this year. I know he had a few sloppy games, a few not as great, but I think overall Herbert, while he may not look as good as last year, I think he looks just as good, but the progression hasn't been there. I think he's still looking like a top quarterback in the NFL despite that 6-5 record, which I think can be mostly attributed to the defense. I'm going to be honest, their defense hasn't looked very good this year. They lack a lot in the secondary. I know Derwin James is healthy, but really overall their secondary has not looked good. Only a few big guys on that defense, like Joey Bosa, Derwin James, and it's really lacking. If Herbert could get some defensive help, I think this team could easily, instead of being 6-5, have 8-9 wins. And Herbert, I like Herbert. And another spot that he stands out to me was, I had it a second ago, but I'm not remembering. But yeah, I think that's it for Justin Herbert. Unless you got something more to say, we'll head on to the last one.
I do have something more to say, and
Go for it.
it's not the fact that I keep saying Joe Herbert. Justin Herbert has been worse statistically or in the eye test. It's that the team is now built around him in a much better fashion than it was last year. Last year, their offensive line ranked almost bottom of the league, and now they have one of the best rookie players guarding him and Corey Linsley in the middle, and the progression just hasn't been there. That's what's disappointing about it. He has shown no sign of getting better. I'm just going to use that.
Improvement.
Oh, my God, my English is bad. Okay.
But yeah, no, I love Herbert. The one thing he has over the other 2 guys, I think, is that arm strength. He's got some incredible arm talent. And we haven't seen as much deep ball from Tua and from Burrow, but from Herbert we see it every game multiple times. But moving on to the last one, you may think Jordan Love, but no, he doesn't play enough. So it's the only other starter to come out of that draft class. That's Jalen Hurts for the Eagles. He became starter the second Carson Wentz was injured, and I don't think they ever brought him back out. He's looked pretty impressive to me. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts is a very, very complicated quarterback.
That's fair.
And I have a good analytical relationship with quarterbacks that run the ball a lot because they add another dimension to the offense. And you can see I really like Kyler Murray. I really, really like Lamar Jackson. I loved Justin Fields coming out of college, and he's doing very, very well right now. I right now have Malik Willis from Liberty as my number 2 quarterback in the class. But I don't really have that same feeling for Jalen Hurts, because what I can see out of all those other guys is they have the mindset of an NFL quarterback where they can say, I know when to run, I know when to throw. And I just have not seen that out of Jalen Hurts. He's impressive, he's athletic, he's excellent. He's a very, very talented player. But for a team that does not have enough raw talent around him to function with a quarterback that has no idea when to throw and when to run, you can't win enough games to make the playoffs. And with the Eagles team, which I said they don't have enough talent around him, and I'm talking offensively, that defense has played very, very well this season, and they need to be a playoff team, especially since the NFC is so weak this year. So Jalen Hurts, obviously you give him time. He's incredibly talented. Hopefully he finds out. He gets a better QB coach. Nick Sirianni might not be working well for him. Doug Peterson certainly didn't last year. But when I watch Jalen Hurts, I just see a quarterback that, and he's incredibly talented. Don't get angry at me. I truly believe in his talent, but he just has not impressed me in the term of an NFL quarterback.
No, I understand. And if I read off his stats, they don't sound very impressive. He's 60% completion percentage,
Yep.
quite low in the NFL. 2,435 yards. Actually, that part's not so bad. It's better than Burrow. But then 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3 fumbles.
Yeah.
It's not good. 13 touchdowns to 11 turnovers. Now let's get to the part where Jalen Hurts thrives, and that's 122 carries this season, 695 yards, and 8 rushing touchdowns. So when you combine his touchdowns, he's up to 21, which is just one shy of Burrow. I don't know if Burrow's rushed any in this season. I think he has.
I believe Burrow has
quite a
2
few.
rushing.
So he's just a few behind Burrow, just a few behind Herbert, and I think that puts him in a good spot touchdown-wise. Yardage, he's up over 3,100 yards if you combine them. And then turnovers is at 11, which is less than Burrow and just one more than Herbert. And so overall, I think that's a pretty good stat line. But then we saw they played what I think is a very good secondary in the New York Giants, and he looked like a Jets quarterback for a minute. He was seeing ghosts. He was making passes, and then Xavier McKinney's interception, he threw the ball over the middle, and McKinney saw it coming the whole way and was able to just jump in front of it.
There was no doubt about that play.
And Hurts should be able to just read where McKinney is and see that and make him think he's going somewhere else and still make that throw happen. And there was no chance for his receiver. I don't even remember who the receiver was on that pass. Probably Quez Watkins. But it was not even close. And McKinney made a great play, but it's a play that all safeties in the NFL are able to make. And he threw 3 other interceptions that game. He did not look good at all. His stats going into that game were impressive, just 4 interceptions on the season. But the Giants' defense tore him apart. He's also been sacked 8 more times this season than he was last season. He's played 3 less games. A little bit concerning on that Eagles offensive line. I know they struggle with the injuries, but overall they've got a solid offensive line. Don't know exactly how well they've performed this year. All I saw was the Giants game. But Jalen Hurts, he's looked good at moments, and he's looked really bad at times. So I don't really know Jalen Hurts, but I think in all, like he fits in well enough with these other 3 quarterbacks.
I agree. I think all these guys are relatively comparable, and when we get to the list, we'll get there in a short time. But Jalen Hurts, what he lacks in the air, he makes up for in the ground. Just that's based on yardage and touchdowns and all that. But what he has that I think sets him a little bit lower than the rest of these guys is his turnovers. He turns the ball over at a rate that he shouldn't be in the NFL right now, compared to his touchdown percentage. That's the one problem.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, though, because we said he has 21 total touchdowns this year and just 11 turnovers. So when you look at that compared to the other guys, Burrow's got 24 touchdowns. 24 if we include rushing, I believe, and 12 interceptions. So 1 extra pick and 3 extra touchdowns. So it's really not a massive difference.
All right.
And with Herbert, 24 touchdowns, 10 picks, that you start get to a bigger difference. But I'm sure also Burrow has fumbled and Herbert has fumbled. And then with Tua, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, we can roughly double that to get to the amount of the games that the other guys have played. So 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Though Tua has rushed some in, if I'm
he has 3
not
rushes.
mistaken. Yes. So while the turnover numbers may be just slightly worse, I think they're not as much worse as we may think based off of that Giants game.
That's fair. All right.
So, Dylan, let's get into the ranking. Who do you have? We'll start at number 4. Who's your number 4? I think I know who it is, but let's see.
I'm still going to go with Jalen Hurts. I'm still going to go with Jalen Hurts because, again, he's just too sporadic of a quarterback. We don't know what we're going to get out of him any given day, and I don't think he's ready to lead this Eagles team to a playoff game. And that's nothing against him. He could definitely work on it, his throwing ability. He could work on his deep ball, his progressions. He just doesn't seem to have right now, and I don't like using this because obviously every NFL quarterback is incredibly smart, but he doesn't have the same IQ as Herbert, Burrow, and Tua have at the moment. Who do you have?
I also have Jalen Hurts. I do think it's a pretty close one between all 4 of them, but especially between him and one other guy who we'll get into in a second. But I think Jalen Hurts, as you said, his deep ball, he just makes some really questionable throws. You said it, the IQ that the other 3 guys have, that Hurts doesn't seem to have. I know I only watched the Giants game, so it's easy for me to be critical on him because I didn't see his other 12 or so touchdowns and only 4 interceptions in the 11 previous games, or 10 previous games. But he makes some really questionable throws on the deep ball and his medium passing. But I think Hurts is going to also be my number 4. That leads straight into my number 3, which I think is very close, and that's your guy, Dylan, Tua. Yep. I think you're going to have the same one. I think Herbert and Burrow have looked just on a different level to these 2 guys, but all in all, it's pretty close. But why do you have Tua number 3 if you do?
I do have Tua at number 3, and obviously this is very, very changeable. I think he can end up being the best. I think he can end up being the worst out of these guys. But what you see out of Tua is a capped floor. Right now, where he is at, he will not be worse than this. And he is playing at a level that is very solid. What is not as good as Herbert and Burrow. He's very, very consistent. He's thrown 15 incomplete passes within his latest stretch. I believe only 1 turnover. So with that said, Burrow and Herbert, who we'll get to my order later, they have that superstar factor that I don't see in Tua at the current moment. And I know accuracy is very important. His pocket presence is top in the league right now. His RPO, his ability to make that work, I don't think that's matched by anyone in the league right now. But he doesn't have that same arm strength, and I hate criticizing Tua because he's been put through so much from all the NFL fans who watched him once last year, saw Fitzpatrick save him, and then instantly made their decision on whether or not he deserves to have a job anymore. But he doesn't have that same oomph that Herbert and Burrow have.
Right, of course. So let's go to number 1 because there's no sense in announcing our number 2s.
Yeah.
Dylan, who do you have at number 1? This one is really, really close for me.
My number 1 pick is Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow.
Just like the Bengals.
He is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert right now, in my opinion. Justin Herbert, his needs were magically met for him, and he's playing at the same level as he was last season, which is still a very good level. But you see Burrow's steady progression from I believe he played 7 games last season, and now he's at 11 this year. But his unfortunate injury, and he made it back from that. He has his favorite receiver from LSU, and he's making everything work. 7 wins, 22 touchdowns. His statistics speak for themselves. But what really is super impressive about Joe Burrow is that he doesn't strike you as someone that's a sophomore quarterback. He strikes you as someone that's been in the league for 5-10 years now. So it's not really a comparison as to who's been better this season. It's as to who is more ready to put their team into the playoffs, because that's the race they're both in. And I believe that Burrow, if he was on the Chargers, he would be doing the same thing Herbert is. So I think Burrow's a better quarterback.
Yeah, this one's really close for me. Herbert's got the better arm strength. Herbert's got the better deep ball. But Burrow's got probably that leg up in accuracy and his ability to just move the ball down the field seemingly effortlessly, as we've seen veteran quarterbacks do. I think Herbert, though, also has that veteran presence. Maybe not as much as Burrow, but he looks super calm. He goes through his progressions. All guys make mistakes, and I think he just makes the least of them. That being said, it's a really tough one because I think these guys are both set out for incredible careers, barring another Burrow injury to either of them. But I think they have equally good potential, and right now they're both playing at a pretty even level. And I'm gonna go with a guy who I've liked since day one, and that's Justin Herbert. I could see anyone going for Joe Burrow, anyone going for Justin Herbert. You can make an argument, you can make a case for either of them. But right now, my pick of the two is Justin Herbert. He has the effortless deep ball is what I love to look at when I watch Justin Herbert. He just slings the ball 60 yards with ease to guys like Mike Williams or random guys like Jalen Guyton. But I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. That's it for our sophomore QB debate. Those top two are close. Those next two are also very close. Then we have Jordan Love. But Dylan, it was a pleasure. That's Dylan Shalom and Charlie Neidell on this one. We'll see you guys in the next one.